When Jae-Min opened the reinforced cargo pod on his landing dock, he expected a quiet, awkward introduction, not a trembling alien woman with a shattered wrist and fear in her eyes. She wasn't supposed to bleed blue, she wasn't supposed to flinch at the sound of a ship's engine, and she definitely wasn't supposed to whisper, "They'll come for me." What started as a desperate man-ass lonely arrangement soon spiraled into something far bigger. A hidden empire, a broken promise, and one human who refused to stay silent when the universe demanded it. If that opening hit you right in the curiosity, you're in the right place. Stick around because this story dives deep into what happens when humanity's compassion becomes its most dangerous weapon. Don't forget to tap that like button, subscribe. If you love HFY stories that mix heart and chaos, and share this with someone who still believes humans always go too far, in the best way possible. The delivery came at midnight. No stars, no moon. Just the dull red blink of a docking beacon cutting through the fog that hugged the landing strip behind Jae-Min, a small repair hangar. He'd been expecting it for weeks, tracking the freighter's slow crawl through the void, counting the days on a flickering holoscreen. But when the ship finally dropped out of orbit and touched down, something felt wrong. The door hissed open. Cold air rushed in, sharp with the metallic tang of cryocoolant. Inside the cargo bay sat a reinforced stasis pod, sleek, white, and dented on one side like it had taken a hit mid-flight. The hum of its power core was uneven, weak. Jae-Min hesitated. He wasn't a soldier or a diplomat, just a lonely mechanic who'd spent too many nights staring at the void outside his orbital workshop. The interspecies marriage program was supposed to be simple, an arrangement. Companionship for humans stationed off-world, a bridge between cultures. But when he released the latch, the pod's seal cracked open with a slow sigh, and reality tore that illusion to shreds. Inside was a woman. No, not exactly human. Her skin shimmered faintly under the lights, pale lavender streaked with faint bioluminescent veins. Her eyes, large and gold like a cat's, fluttered open for a heartbeat before fear replaced confusion. She recoiled instantly, covering her face. Hey, it's all right," Jae-Min said softly, lifting his hands. "You're safe, you're home." But she shook her head. Her voice came out broken, her galactic standard fractured. No home, not safe. That's when he saw it. The bruises. Deep, ugly marks along her wrists where restraints had dug into the skin. Her right arm was wrapped in some kind of alien polymer cast, cracked in two places. Whoever shipped her hadn't cared if she lived or died. He moved closer, slow as if approaching a wounded animal. "Who did this to you?" She looked at him for the first time. Really looked. Something flickered behind her fear, something like recognition. Then she whispered a name he didn't understand, followed by a phrase that chilled him to the core. "They'll come for me." Jae-Min didn't sleep that night. He set her up in the spare room above his workshop, covered her in a thermal blanket, and sat nearby, pretending to work. The sound of her breathing was soft, fragile. Every few minutes she'd twitch, whispering in her sleep in that strange, melodic tongue. He couldn't stop thinking about the bruises, the way her pod had been dented like someone tried to pry it open or beat it shut. The Interstellar Agency's record said her name was Aralith Satora, species Varine. Origin Sector 9, compatibility 87%. It all looked official. Too official, and yet, why did her arrival pod look like a prison transport? By morning, she was sitting at the edge of the cot, staring out the window at the skyline of Seoul Station, the floating city tethered high above Earth as a stratosphere. She wore one of his oversized shirts, the sleeves hanging past her elbows. When he offered her food, she flinched at the sound of the stove. When a patrol drone flew by the window, she nearly bolted for the door. "Hey," he said gently, kneeling to meet her eyes. "You don't have to be afraid here." She studied his face for a long moment before saying softly, "You, not like others." "Others?" Her gaze dropped to her hands. "Men who bought. They..." She paused, searching for the words. "They wanted slaves, not brides." The air between them froze. Jae-Min felt something twist deep in his chest. Anger, confusion, and shame tangled into one. The interspecies program had been controversial from the start, but Earth's government had promised it was regulated, ethical. Apparently, that was a lie.
That evening, Jae-Min accessed the encrypted logs of her pod. He wasn't supposed to. The files were government-locked, but years of tinkering with damaged ships had taught him how to slip past red tape. What he found made his blood run cold. Her stasis file wasn't marked marriage exchange. It was marked asset transfer. Destination, Soul Station. Status, Containment Level 2. Security note, subject is property of the Vereen Syndicate. Handle with caution. He leaned back in disbelief. Property. No wonder she was terrified. No wonder she'd been shipped like cargo. Airlift wasn't part of a peace program. She was part of a trafficking network hidden under the guise of diplomacy. He went to her room. She was sitting cross-legged, tracing patterns on the wall with faintly glowing fingertips. When he told her what he'd found, she didn't react the way he expected. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just whispered, "Then it is true." "What is?" "They killed my bondmate. I saw him burn. The pod, they said I'd join him. But they lied. They sold me instead." Jae-Min's throat tightened. "I'm so sorry." Airlift looked up at him, her golden eyes glimmering in the low light. "You are not part of them. But if they find me, you die too." Her words hung in the air like static before a storm. He could have reported her, could have turned her in and washed his hands clean. But that wasn't what humans did, was it? Something ancient stirred in him. The same stubborn defiance that made his ancestors charge battlefields, that made explorers sail oceans they didn't understand. He looked at her bruised wrist, at the faint glow under her skin, and said, quietly, "Then we make sure they don't find you." For the first time since she'd arrived, Airless smiled, just a small, fragile curve of her lips. But it was enough. Outside, thunder rolled through the sky. A storm was coming, and deep in the black between stars, something vast and watching had already noticed that one human, on one small planet, had just broken the universe's most expensive rule. By the third day, Jae-Min began to notice things. Small things, the kind that slipped under logic but refused to stay ignored. Airlith's wounds healed too fast. The bruises on her wrists faded overnight. The cracked polymer cast on her arm? Gone, replaced by smooth, perfect skin, except for one patch that shimmered faintly beneath the surface. At first, he thought it was just the glow of her veins again. But under the lamp's light, the mark took shape, a thin line of silver light that twisted into a sigil, sharp, geometric, pulsing with a rhythm that wasn't random. It almost looked like a code. He didn't mention it immediately. He just watched. The mark flared when she was frightened, dimmed when she slept. And when the news broadcast flickered across his holoscreen that morning about a missing Vereen envoy transport lost in Earth's orbit, she froze mid-sip of her tea. "They're looking for you, aren't they?" Jae-Min asked quietly. Her cup rattled against the table. "They look for traitor," she whispered. "For soldier who refused the order." "Order to do what?" "To burn your world." The room went silent. She explained slowly, haltingly, in broken standard. The Vereen weren't diplomats. They were conquerors wrapped in pretty promises. Her people's exchange program had been a front to study human weaknesses, to identify resistance points before launching controlled occupation. Airlift had been part of their military. Not a bride, not even a refugee. She was an operative, trained loyal, until one day she saw what her commanders were planning. The mark under her skin was an identity tag, a signal beacon that linked her life signs to the Vereen fleet. "They track soldiers through it," she said. "If they see me alive, they know I ran." Jae-Min felt his chest tighten. "So they'll come here." She nodded. "Yes, they will burn this place to find one of their own." That night, Jae-Min sat alone in his workshop, staring at the faint blue glow of his console. His brain spun through impossible options. Hide her? Impossible. The mark would give her away. Run? The fleet would track them anywhere on planet. Remove it? No way. It was fused to her nervous system. He looked down at his own scarred hands, the hands that had rebuilt engines and welded hulls and patched together scrap ships that shouldn't fly. And an idea began to form. If the mark was a signal, maybe it could be rewritten. When he brought the tools up to her room, Aerolith flinched. You wish to remove it? Not remove, he said. Change it. She looked doubtful. You can rewrite Vereen code? He smirked. I can make a 50-year-old Earth hauler run on alien thrusters using scrap and coffee fumes. I'll take my chances. For a moment, she just watched him. Then, slowly, she nodded. He used his microscanner first, mapping the neural lines of her forearm. The mark pulsed faster, as if it knew what he was doing. He linked the scanner to an old Vereen interface he'd salvaged years ago from a wrecked shuttle, the kind of tech the government called restricted salvage. Lines of alien text filled the air in shimmering blue holographs. The signal tag was locked with a military-grade encryption chain. Jae-Min's hands moved on instinct, bypassing, rerouting, forcing command overrides where no human had business meddling. Aerolith gritted her teeth. It hurts. I know, he said. Hold still. I'm almost. The console sparked violently. Jae-Min cursed, hitting the breaker. The hologram flickered, then stabilized. Only now the pulsing rhythm of the mark had changed. It was slower, quieter. He checked the telemetry. No outgoing signal. He looked up at her and grinned. They can't track you anymore. Aerolith blinked in disbelief. You broke the chain. I rewired it to mimic a dead signature, he said, leaning back. To them, you're gone, dead in transit. She stared at him, a mix of awe and fear. You risked your life to help me. Why? Jae-Min shrugged. Because that's what humans do when something's wrong. For the first time, she laughed, a soft, melodic sound that didn't belong to this cold metal room. She touched his cheek lightly, her fingers warm against his skin. You are strange, Jae-Min of Earth. He grinned. You don't know the half of it. But even as they smiled, he could see the storm behind her eyes. Freedom wasn't safety. She knew the Vereen never left loose ends. Over the next few days, they tried to live quietly. She helped him around the workshop, learning Earth words, humming to herself as she repaired broken droids. Sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, she would trace the edge of her glowing mark and whisper to it, like talking to a ghost. Then one night, she came to him with a hollow look on her face. They know, she said. Jae-Min froze. How? The beacon you broke. It was not alone. There's a second one deep in bone. She touched the side of her neck, right beneath the skin. He felt the faint vibration there, the low hum of alien tech that no scanner had caught. Jae-Min swore under his breath. Then we take it out. Her eyes widened. That could kill me. So could let them find you. A long silence followed. Then she nodded. Then do it, but promise. If I die, you burn the signal before they come. He looked her dead in the eye. You're not dying. Not on my watch. He prepped the tools again, this time with trembling hands. The light in her room flickered as the generator strained. Outside, thunder cracked over the city, echoing off the metal domes. Aerolith lay still on the table, eyes closed, breath steady. He used a local anesthetic patch, calibrated for human pain tolerance, hoping it would work on her. When he made the incision, the faintest blue glow spilled from beneath her skin. The implant was no bigger than a coin, embedded against the base of her skull. As he reached for it, her body convulsed. Jae-Min. The device flared, sending a surge of light through the room. The holographic display snapped to life on its own, lines of Vereen code streaming fast and furious. And then, through the static, a face appeared. Cold, silver-eyed, smiling. Hello, runaway. The alien voice purred. We were wondering when you'd wake up. The screen flickered, and a pulse of energy rippled outward, frying every circuit in the workshop. The power died instantly. Outside, sirens wailed as the first tremor of distant explosions rolled across the horizon. Jae-Min looked at her, blood on his gloves, terror in her eyes. They found us, she whispered. And above Sol Station, the night sky lit up with the arrival of the Vereen fleet. The first explosion rattled windows. Then came the shockwave, a low, rolling tremor that made the floor beneath Jae-Min's boots shudder. The lights flickered, then went out completely, plunging the hangar into darkness except for the faint blue glow still leaking from Aerolith's neck. He grabbed her by the shoulders. "We need to move. Now!" Outside, the sky was no longer dark. It burned. Streaks of crimson light tore across the clouds as the Varine fleet broke through orbit, sleek, blade-shaped cruisers blotting out the stars. The Sol Station defense grid flickered to life, but the human response was clumsy, late, desperate. This wasn't a diplomatic visit. It was a hunt. Aerolith stumbled beside him, clutching her neck where he had torn the second beacon free. Her skin was pale, trembling, but her eyes were fierce now, no longer the frightened woman he'd first found. "They will not stop," she said. "They will burn your world to claim their honor." Jae-Min looked out at the chaos spreading across the sky and muttered, "Then they picked the wrong planet." They made it to the underground tram line beneath the hangar. It was old tech, half forgotten since hover transit replaced rails, but it still worked, barely. The tram rattled into motion, carrying them through a tunnel that pulsed with red emergency lights. Aerolith stared through the window, her reflection fractured by passing sparks. "You could have run. Left me. Why did you not?" Jae-Min gave a bitter laugh. "Because I don't like bullies." She tilted her head, confused. "Bullies?" "People who think they can own others. People who hurt the weak because they can." Her expression softened. "You sound like my bondmate." He looked at her, surprised. "What was he like?" "Brave," she said quietly. "He defied an order to fire on a surrendering world. For that, they executed him. He said freedom is worth dying for." Jae-Min stared ahead at the dark tunnel. "Then let's make sure neither of us has to." When the tram stopped, they emerged into a war zone. The Varine had already begun their assault on the lower levels of Sol Station. Human security drones hovered in formation, exchanging plasma fire with sleek alien sentinels that moved like shadows. Civilians screamed, scattering for shelter. Aerolith grabbed his wrist. "We must reach the comm tower. It links to their ships." "You want to talk to them?" Jae-Min said incredulously. "No," she said. "I want to end them." Her tone sent a chill through him. The soft, broken voice he'd first heard was gone. In its place stood the soldier she had once been, focused, fierce, unafraid. They navigated through smoke-filled corridors, ducking behind shattered panels as gunfire echoed through the air. Jae-Min scavenged a plasma rifle from a fallen guard, checking the charge with shaking hands. "You ever use one of these?" he asked. Aerolith smirked. "I built them." They fought their way toward the tower. The deeper they went, the more resistance they met. But every time Jae-Min faltered, Aerolith was there, her movements fluid and precise, striking with lethal efficiency. The bruised, trembling refugee was gone. What moved beside him now was something far older, far deadlier. When they finally reached the communications control deck, it was in ruins. A blast had torn half the roof open. Through the hole above, they could see one of the Varine capital ships hovering low, its engines thundering like the voice of a god. Jae-Min turned to her. "You said you could use this tower to stop them. How?" Aerolith knelt beside the control terminal, her hands moving fast. "Their fleet runs on a shared neural command link. All ships respond to the same encryption thread. If I can inject a false signal into their hierarchy, you can turn their fleet against itself." She nodded grimly. "But I'll need time." He looked up at the burning sky and tightened his grip on the rifle. "Then I'll buy you some." Minutes stretched like hours. The deck shook with each blast. Aerolith's fingers flew across the console as alien code streamed through the air, projected in shimmering holograms. Sweat beaded on her temple as she fought the encryption layer by layer. Below, a detachment of Varine soldiers breached the stairwell. Sleek armor, twin rifles. No hesitation. Jae-Min crouched behind the console, firing in short, sharp bursts. He wasn't a soldier, but adrenaline had turned him into something close. Each recoil burned through his shoulders, each blast echoing like thunder in his skull. "Faster!" he shouted. Aerolith didn't look up. Almost done. She slammed her palm against the console. The hologram flickered, the alien text distorting into static. A low hum rippled through the air. Then the sky changed. The nearest Marine cruiser jerked suddenly, its weapons pivoting, not toward the city but toward the fleet beside it. A second ship responded with confusion, firing back. Within seconds, chaos erupted above, the once perfect formation dissolving into a storm of friendly fire. "They're turning on each other," Jae-Min said, stunned. Airlift slumped forward, her body trembling. "It will not last long. Once they detect the anomaly, they will restore control. Then we run." They fled as debris rained from the sky. The Marine ships fought like rabid beasts, their plasma cannons lighting the clouds in molten color. Sol Station's defense grid took advantage of the confusion, launching counterstrikes that tore through weakened shields. But as they reached the outer loading bay, a shadow fell across them. The lead Marine dreadnought had descended to the atmosphere, massive, predatory, blocking out the sun. Its lower hull split open, revealing a black mauve light. Airlift went rigid. "That ship, it's him." "Who?" Jae-Min demanded. "The commander who killed my bondmate." The dreadnought's comms activated, broadcasting across all frequencies. A deep, resonant voice filled the air. "Run, all you want, deserter. Humanity cannot save you. Earth will kneel as all do." Jae-Min raised his rifle, heart pounding. "Funny, you say that like we know how to kneel." The voice chuckled darkly. "Then burn with her." The dreadnought's weapon core began to charge, a sun blooming in its heart. Airlift turned to Jae-Min. "If that weapon fires, Sol Station dies. Then we stop it," he said without hesitation. She looked at him, stunned. "You would face their flagship?" He grinned, tired, fearless, human. "You said freedom's worth dying for. Guess it's time to prove it." Together, they boarded a commandeered shuttle, a broken, half-functioning cargo craft Jae-Min had repaired a lifetime ago. As it roared to life, the deck beneath them shuddered. "Manual controls only," he shouted. "Understood." Airlift answered, sliding into the co-pilot seat. They launched toward the sky, rising through the smoke and fire, straight toward the looming shape of the dreadnought. Plasma bolts streaked past like falling stars. The ship shook, metal screaming in protest, but Jae-Min's hands were steady on the controls. "Tell me you've got a plan," she yelled. He grinned. "Working on it." The dreadnought's cannon began to glow brighter, preparing to fire. Airlift's mark, the one beneath her skin, flickered suddenly. A pulse of light, a connection. Her eyes widened. "Jae-Min, I can reach their core." He turned to her. "Then do it." The human shuttle screamed through the clouds, flames licking its hull as it hurtled toward the Marine dreadnought. Inside, alarms wailed and metal groaned, but Jae-Min's focus was locked forward, on a colossal ship that blotted out the sun. The entire sky seemed to pulse with the hum of its charging weapon. One blast from that thing could vaporize Sol Station and everything in it. Airlift's hands were trembling over the console, the faint glow under her skin flickering like a dying star. "The control link, it's open," she gasped. "But I cannot hold it for long." Jae-Min adjusted the trajectory manually, sparks flying from the control panel. "Just tell me what to hit." Her voice turned sharp. "The reactor core, beneath the main cannon. If we breach it, the feedback will destroy their ship, maybe even disable the fleet." He gave a short laugh, wild and breathless. "Maybe? You're starting to sound human." She turned to him, golden eyes filled with something fierce and beautiful. "Then teach me how to be one." The dreadnought's defense grid activated. Blue energy bolts streaked toward them. Jae-Min wove through them with desperate precision, pushing the shuttle past what was built to endure. Hull temperature rising, oxygen level dropping. Still, he grinned through the chaos. "You know what the funny thing is?" He shouted over the roar. "They think we're small, that we'll break easy." Airlift smiled faintly. "Then let us show them what small can do." The ship dove, slicing between the dreadnought's weapon arrays. Explosions flare behind them, heat searing the cockpit. Through the haze, the core chamber came into view, a blinding sphere of pulsing white light at the center of the alien Titan. Jae-Min locked the thrusters. You said breach it. How? Aerolith's gaze hardened. By letting me in. Before he could stop her, she ripped the data link from the console and jammed it into the mark beneath her skin. Energy surged through her veins, her entire body lighting up with streams of silver fire. Aerolith, I am Vereen Command-Born, she said, voice echoing in layers. Their network will listen to me one last time. Her body arched as the power hit her. The dreadnought system stuttered. Across the fleet, engines faltered, weapons dimmed. She was overriding their neural grid from the inside, taking control of the Empire's heart. But it was killing her. Jae-Min reached for her, gripping her shoulders. Stop. You'll burn yourself out. She smiled weakly, tears shining in her eyes. Humans always say that before they do the impossible. He laughed, a broken, desperate sound. Yeah, well, I guess you've been paying attention. The ship lurched as another blast grazed them. Warning screamed across the dashboard. The hull was seconds from collapse. And yet, through it all, Aerolith's voice filled the air, calm and steady, a whisper threaded through static. Your world will live, because one human chose to care. On the Dreadnought's bridge, the Vereen commander barked orders, but it was too late. His control systems were disintegrating. Power conduits overloaded. The ship's AI screamed error codes in alien script. Then, through the chaos, her voice came across the fleet-wide channel. This is Airless Satorth of the Vereen. Your conquest ends here. The commander froze. You died. I did, her voice replied, steady cold. And so will you. The core erupted. A blinding flash consumed the sky, the shockwave rippling through clouds and scattering the fleet like leaves in a storm. Half the armada detonated instantly, their systems cannibalizing themselves under the false command Aerolith had injected. From Sol Station, millions watched as the largest warship in orbit fractured into molten fragments, its remains burning across the stratosphere like a trail of dying comets. Inside the shuttle, Jae-Min struggled to see through the light. The reactor implosion hurled him clear, the force knocking him unconscious for a moment. When he came to, alarms were still wailing, and smoke filled the cabin. Aerolith, he called, coughing hard. She lay slumped against the console, her skin dim now, the glow gone from her veins. He crawled to her, pulling her close. Stay with me, all right? We did it. You did it. Her lips moved faintly. Did it work? He nodded. Yeah, you saved them all. Her eyes fluttered open and she smiled, that same fragile, human smile he'd seen the first night she arrived bruised and afraid. I told you, humans are strange, she whispered. He laughed softly, though his throat ached. Yeah, but now you're one of us. Her breathing slowed. The light in her chest dimmed completely, and as the shuttle drifted to the burning sky, Jae-Min held her hand and whispered, You were never cargo, Aerolith. You were the reason we fight. Hours later, rescue teams found the wreckage. The shuttle had crashed just outside the city's perimeter. Jae-Min was alive, barely. When they pulled him out, he kept asking for her. But there was nothing left of her, no body, no trace. Only a faint, silver mark scorched into the console where her hand had been. For months after, the world tried to understand what had happened. News channels spoke of an unexplainable anomaly that destroyed the Vereen fleet. Governments scrambled to take credit. Scientists argued it was a system malfunction. But the soldiers who fought that day knew better. They called it the Whisper War, a story about one alien woman who defied her masters, and a human who stood beside her when the universe told him not to. Years passed. Jae-Min rebuilt his workshop, but every night he would look up at the stars. Somewhere out there, he felt her presence, not gone but watching. And then, one night, as he closed the hangar doors, a soft hum filled the air. He turned, and there it was, a flicker of blue light hovering above his workbench, the same pattern that once pulsed beneath her skin. Her voice came through the static, faint but unmistakable. Hello, Jae-Min of Earth. He froze. His heart raced. Aerolith, I am still here, the voice said. The mark remembers. The war is not over. But neither are we. He smiled, eyes wet, voice breaking. Then let's finish what we started. The stars above Sol Station glowed brighter that night, and somewhere in the cold silence between galaxies, an empire trembled again at the sound of a human name. Because when humans love, they don't surrender. They build legends,